Liz?
That's correct. I'm starting it now.
All right. Looks about 4 seconds away. You'll start the string and then you'll pass it over to a Liz.
That's correct. I'm starting it now.
All right.
Okay, we are live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, council. Welcome, general public. Something happened with somebody. Somebody has a lot of background noise. It's muted. So thank you. I appreciate that. All right. We're going to get started here for our public hearing. Madam Clerk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Jenny Clanton.
Here.
Councilmember Rob Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Jasmine Cobble.
Here.
Councilmember George Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Tammy Grimes.
Here.
Mayor Jason Larry.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to take a motion, folks, to open the public hearing. As a matter of fact, I move that we open the public hearing for today at 11:05 a.m.
Second.
And second. All in favor? District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
District 4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor? Aye. The public hearing is now open. Mr. Joyner.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Wanted to open up this public hearing for the City of Stonecrest, which has tentatively adopted a city millage rate, which will result in a City of Stonecrest property tax increase in the amount of 100% over the city's previous millage rate of 0. This 100% increase will also coincide with a similar decrease from DeKalb County. We're looking at a millage rate of 1.438, transferring the millage from the Parks and Rec from DeKalb County to the City of Stonecrest. We'll be looking at an estimated revenue, gross revenue for the 1.43 mills to be approximately $2.4 million. But with the 1 mill homestead exemption that exists for select Stonecrest residents, we'll be looking at an estimated revenue of $1,860,760, which will represent approximately $500,000 decrease in taxes for our residents. At this time, if I could get the control of I believe I have been given the host.
Yes, I made you host.
So for the mayor, council, and the public, what you're seeing is a PowerPoint slide that shows the revenues that will be collected by the City of Stonecrest in 2020 for the Parks and Rec service that began in 2019. As we stated previously, 1 mil for the City of Stonecrest is approximately $1.68 million. The millage rate that will be transferred from DeKalb County will be 1.438. This represents the millage that was being imposed for Parks and Recreation. The gross revenue that we could expect for the 1.438 mills is approximately $2,433,000 and $2,433,760. $433,257. Based on the 1 mil homestead exemption that exists for the city of Stonecrest, we plan for our estimated revenue to be $1,860,760 when we impose the millage rate for the city of Stonecrest. Once again, we're just looking at imposing this millage rate only for the Parks and Recreation Service, which began in August of 2019. We can proceed with the public hearing.
I have a comment before you start. This particular hearing, I guess for the record, and I'm asking questions that I already know the answer to, but for the record, this substitute for an earlier hearing that was declared null and void. And for the record, what happens to any comments or questions that were asked at the previous hearings that we had? I guess that's a question for legal. How shall we address, or how should we treat that?
So this is a brand new public hearing process. So the previous comments that were made, they still, and the answers to them still remain the same, because it's not being, the taxes are not being increased. It's just effectively what is going to be taxed for, which is Parks and Recreation.
So you're saying that although this is essentially a do-over, comments made the first time around are still valid?
Well, I mean, not technically, wouldn't say comments made are still valid, but the answers that were provided previously are still correct. If that
Slightly
clears it up a
confused,
little
but-
bit. Because this is just starting the process over.
Yes.
And so if you want to bring in comments, let's say at the 6 o'clock hearing that were made previously, if they're not here to make them again, you might be able to do that. But just right now, it's just the brand new process, which is going to be inviting the public to make comments on this latest advertisement.
Okay, I hear you saying brand new, and I hear you say also bring in the old.
Well, if you would like to acknowledge those, if they're not unable to speak, you can do that at a later time.
Okay.
I have a question as well for the city attorney, because I received some public comments last week for the public hearing that was canceled.
Okay.
And I notified all of those members that that this was going to be a new hearing and that we had new dates. However, none of them resubmitted their public comments, but to err on the side of caution, I went ahead and printed those so we could have them for this one, because we've not heard those. But the ones that Councilmember George Turner is referring to, we still have those comments, and they are part of the minutes, and they are kept, forever. So do we need to reread those?
I wouldn't reread those at this time, but I would go ahead and just include the ones from the last week with the canceled meeting, because we've already heard the previous ones, but we haven't heard this one.
Okay, and if members of the public want to resend me the public comments, they can, and I can reread them if they would like.
Correct.
Does that help clarify your question, Councilman Turner?
I just want to make sure, and here again, it's new water, particularly for me, and that is that once you have a process to move forward, and that process is declared invalid, is it wiped off of the record, or is it put in the record with an asterisk beside it? And we start a new process, does that count toward it? I hear the answer, not sure if I totally agree with it, but I hear the answer for the record.
Did you want me to speak on that again, or?
No, I mean, you've put it on record as to your position on it, and we'll leave it there, and hopefully it won't be challenged.
Okay,
Well, while we're having an administrative conversation, can I ask a question before we read the comments?
sure.
As far as I understand it, as of Thursday, sometime after 4 o'clock, is when the city website was updated with the most recent notices and advertising for this set of public hearings. And I'm aware that it did run in the AJC the week prior. But as far as I know it, and I checked it around 4:00 Thursday, the old notices were still on the website. So I don't know that the citizens who did send in their comments for the past set of public hearings were really truly even aware that, one, the ads changed and that we're not levying or proposing public works and parks and recs, that we're only doing parks and recs, that the millage changed. So it's not, although the ad says 2.421, we're asking for a lower millage. But either way, none of that was made available, well, readily available to the citizens on our website until Thursday afternoon, before the Friday holiday. So I'm sure there's much confusion about what public comment is included, what's not, what should be, should I do it over? But the fact that it just wasn't on the website until late Thursday evening makes it extremely difficult for residents to understand that this is not just a do-over. This is truly brand new. The millage the services we're talking about, the number, the millage, I mean, all of that is just completely different than what was before. I don't know that we've made that as prevalent as we could have.
Okay, more comments? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Well, I was hoping the attorney would address that.
Well, as it comes to the advertisements, I believe that Plus said it was on the website. It just was not on the main page or the public notices page. But as for just the legal ramifications when it comes to the advertisement, so it was the 2.421 that was advertised, but the city can adopt any lesser rate. So this is kind of, the opportunity to, as Ples broke it down and discussed it, and now is first of 3 opportunities for the citizens to comment on this. As it comes to the comments previously that were made, I think, as we discussed, they can easily be brought in. And then if we want just to do another public outreach to ensure that there's active participation, that's something we can do as well.
And you said that it was on the website when? Because I looked myself, like I didn't take anybody else's word. I looked in more than one place, and it wasn't there prior to, at 4:00 on Thursday. The old notices were still there. So if it was not on the homepage and it was not on the public notice page, where is someone to look if it's not on either 2 of those pages? But I'm just saying the fact that this is completely different than the first set of public hearings, I think puts the citizens at great disadvantage to understanding. Like, now is the first time they're truly hearing what this is versus what it was before, unless they looked at the website after 4:00 on Thursday. So anyway, we can move on. I just feel like we're going to have some challenge here with true public input when it wasn't available. And this is something completely different than what we did the first time.
Well, for the record, folks, this is for
I have
citizens.
one. I have one question here.
Let me speak, then I'll let you speak. For
Yes.
the record, citizens and council, we have gone through strenuous efforts to make sure that and pay good money to make sure that we have met the legal requirements for everything that we're doing here. And also for the record, and Madam Attorney, I won't speak for you on this end of it, but I know that we disagree with the tax assessor's office or the tax commissioner's office on having to do this over anyway, but we did it over anyway, along with advertising with the AJC and getting everything up and going. And with that, Attorney Metricardi, and then I'll go to Councilwoman Grimes. Attorney Metricardi, have we met all the legal bounds that we're supposed to for this hearing?
Yes, the city has. Everything was advertised properly, and although it is a different or lesser millage than what was advertised, it's completely legal to adopt a lesser millage. And this is just kind of moving forward as what the discussions with DeKalb County have led to, that this is the best method to proceed.
Okay. Councilwoman Grimes?
And that just kind of leads into my question. For the record, when was council notified that it was only going to be Parks and Rec and not Public Works that we were discussing? Can I be heard? Am I muted?
Les, do you want to speak to that? Because I know we've had internal discussions
With whom?
between myself and Ples and Councilwoman Cobble, but I'm not sure what communications have gone back and forth through the city.
Yeah, to speak to that point, we've had a number of conversations, mainly with the, a lot of this has been with the tax commissioner's office concerning the number of changes that have been going through. Unfortunately, this did not lend an awful lot of time for us to make a whole lot of communications outside of those discussions and our preparation for this. So if you feel that you've been caught sort of flat-footed here, I will apologize for that. But in light of the fact that we are looking at to Attorney Metricardi's point, we are actually looking at a lower millage rate here, and we are only attaching the Parks and Rec millage because that is the only service that we're going to be able to apply the property tax to for this season, for this year.
For the record, if I may state, I never like to stand before the people and not have a clue as to what I'm talking about or what's being presented. For the record.
Can I also say something before we move a little bit forward? That's always been my concern, communication, lines of or lack of lines of communication. But yet you want us to vote on things that we don't have proper information, proper numbers, proper time frames to look at and digest that situation. But yet you talk to different people or certain people. I mean, if the entire council is to vote on it, then the entire council needs to be informed about it. And that's very important for us to have that in a timely manner. So that's for the record on my part.
Anybody else? Thank you, Council. Madam Clerk. The public comments.
Okay, I received this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I received an email from Akeem Cooper this morning at 11:11 a.m. Hello, my name is Akeem Cooper, and I am a resident of 3068 Bonds Drive, Stonecrest, Georgia, 30038. I'm writing you this email to oppose any tax increase which would not transfer over the homestead exemption and other exemptions from DeKalb County. Thank you, Akeem Cooper. I received this comment, I believe at 10:45 from Cheryl Moore Mathis. I am submitting this letter as my public comment regarding my opposition to creating a public works department at this time. I also am concerned that the current management of the city does not warrant enough expertise to move forward in that direction. I do want to encourage you, your fellow council members and mayor, to start the search for an experienced city manager with a minimum of 5 to 10 years of experience in managing a city similar in size. Too many costly taxpayer dollars are being wasted due to the many mistakes that have and are continuing to be made, and it needs to stop. You all have fiduciary responsibility to the citizens and taxpayers of Stonecrest to allow this to continue with no accountability. I do not want to be told that the city is solvent and in good condition. I would like to see the true numbers for myself so that I can be made comfortable in knowing that the city has a balanced budget. I have made requests and still to no avail. Please bear in mind that we are not just community folk. Rather, we are savvy, educated, and experienced enough to make the determination on our own. Lastly, I want to make note that the fact that the advertising of the hearings concerning the tax increase was done with the AJC in a timely manner. However, when I checked the city's website, the hearing was just posted on late Thursday evening prior to a holiday weekend. I am not sure why there were not posted I'm not sure why they were not posted at the same time, and do not want my suspicions to guide me otherwise. I simply ask that we, the citizens, stakeholders, and taxpayers, be given the best in making sure that we have and represent that of a model city, because currently we do not. We do not. Regards, Cheryl Moore Mathis. I received this one Wednesday, June 24th at 4:43 p.m. It was from Sean Dunham, and his comment is no. I received this comment on June 24th at 4:44 p.m. from Tanika Kemp. Good afternoon. My name is Tanika Kemp, and I live in District 5. I am opposed of the city to take on public works at this time. Based on city council meetings, the city does not have actual cost of services. Until we get actual numbers for the cost, we are not ready. Please vote no at this time. This email was received on Wednesday, June 24th, from Cherie Randolph Dunham. Hello, I would like to voice my vote as no for millage tax increase. I don't think it was a good time for a meeting on this issue during the pandemic. People have lost jobs and we're still in phase 1 and more jobs may be lost. So again, I stress no, thank you. I received this email Wednesday, June 24th at 6:04 p.m. from Clara DeLay. I am vehemently opposed to the millage rate increase and Stonecrest proposal to take over public works from DeKalb County. With all due respect, Stonecrest is not ready to take on yet another responsibility from the county. This in no way is a reflection on the administration, but speaks to the inexperience, the number of open positions, and the number of other already existing issues that need your attention to deal with before you take on additional matters. Many of us are paying attention and many of us aren't. In my opinion, selling this tax increase as not really a tax increase because you are taking over public works and the money what we are paying to the county will now come to Stonecrest for zero change to the citizens' liability. Fails to mention the unknown liabilities associated with new responsibility of public works and Stonecrest's inexperience and the various vacancies that exist. As someone already said, taking over public works from the county does not have to happen right now, especially in such a time of uncertainty that we are experiencing now. I fear that Stonecrest is setting itself up to collapse under its own weight. I'm opposed to the tax increase at this time because I oppose taking over public works at this time. I think public works and the taxes that fund it is not a prudent move at this time of great uncertainty. Thank you for your time. I received this email Wednesday, June 24th at 1:03 p.m. This is from Malika Wells. I am a homeowner and resident of Stonecrest. I am not in favor of the proposed millage rate increase nor the move to add public works to the city's responsibility at this time. I believe that the council and mayor should focus on hiring a city manager and finance director and circle back to review millage rate and adding public works in 12 to 18 months. Thank you. And then I think this might be my last one. Dave Marcus, I received his email on June 24th at 5:44 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you will vote on setting a millage rate for the Stonecrest first property taxes. You're being asked to set a rate that will pay for parks and recreation operations during 2020 and will also pay for the creation of Public Works Department and its operations in 2021. I urge you to vote for enough of a millage rate to cover parks and recreation operations. I think that simply makes sense since they are being paid for already out of the city's operating budget. And this budget will be strained by any revenue shortfalls that occur because of the economy slowdown. I also urge you to stop there and to not vote for the millage rate increase that will force the city to take over public works 6 months from now. Keep in mind that while state law requires the city to take over public works, the law does not specify when that needs to happen. Why not take over public works right now? Here are 5 reasons. 1, at the previous hearing on this, the city administration showed you a cost estimate for creating and operating public works. One figure was shown with no breakdown or backup. The figure, if I recall correctly, was 3.7 million. That amount is over twice as much, if I remember the figures correctly, as DeKalb spends on public works in Stonecrest. The amount is nearly as much as the total that Stonecrest would get for parks and for public works combined. If that figure is correct, then DeKalb County today delivers public works for nearly half the cost that the city proposes, yet that figure was shown as a justification for us taking it over at the last hearing. 2, if that figure is incorrect, then administration has asked you to take this large step without having done due diligence. It appears that at least as of 2 weeks ago, the city administration has not done a detailed study to quantify the cost. You could be buying a pig in a poke tonight if you go ahead, and the current financial climate is risky in and of itself. It is important to be careful and perhaps cautious. And if the figure has miraculously comes down from 3.7 million to say roughly 1.8 million that the county spends, you need to look carefully at the financial model. I myself don't trust any model that has so much error that it can be corrected with such a large swing and end up with the right number. 3, there is no professional finance director in the city government to conduct financial analysis. And if you go ahead, there is no experienced city manager to oversee building the department, and there is no experienced procurement manager to ensure that we are buying and contracting as efficiently as possible. These are all positions that there has been much discussion of in council meetings, but there has been no forward motion on them, although we apparently do have a finance manager starting in July. 4, the city administration staffing is lean with several senior sounding positions empty and Jacobs filling in. Building a public works department will take energy and talent that could be going towards increased economic development activities and job creation activities. While there are certainly more jobs and more development in the city's future, we need to maximize them to get the most quality development and the most good jobs in the shortest amount of time. Isn't that Stonecrest's #1 need? 5, taking over public works is not critical. It will not increase our quality of life to any real degree. And if it takes our focus off the basics, the citizens lose. And if the costs are not right, either public works service will be lower or taxes will be higher. Thank you. And that is all my public comments that I've received. And there's no one here from the public.
Madam Clerk, I have one sent to me from a constituent on June the 17th at 10:48 a.m. I'd ask that you check your emails and enter that one into the record as well, please.
Who is it from?
It's from Karen C. The email is karenc.1913@gmail.com.
Karen.C.
1913@gmail.com. And if you'd like for me to forward it to you now, I can re-forward it so it's at the top if you'd like.
Okay, I see it.
See it? Okay. If you could enter that.
From Mac and Karen Calhoun.
Yes, ma'am.
Stonecrest officials must be fiscally responsible as well as good stewards to avoid property tax increases. The tax transferred from DeKalb County will address this year. What actions need to be taken or conversely not taken to help ensure 0 to minimum increases to property taxes in the future? What steps need to be taken to continue to operate in the black? Thank you for your public service. Sincerely, Mac and Karen Calhoun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I will move to council comments, and then I'll have the last say as chair. District 1.
Mr. Mayor, this is Jimmy. I think it is important that our public know the difference between what we're voting on now and what we was voting on earlier. I do think that the advertising leagues and the legal requirements are critical, and they're important, and being the fact that we follow those to the letter of the law is great. But I do think that if council feel that we should increase that time or change that somewhat for as a policy issue for the city of Stonecrest, then at some point in the future we can move to do that as well. But as stated now, I think we're good. The comments from the 24th and from days prior, obviously a comment that goes towards, the early millage rate increase proposal, as opposed to what we're doing now. And I think we remedied a lot of the issues that a lot of the commenters made. But so I feel solid as far as going forward in this matter because it's critical to the city, and I'm kind of set aside by, I think I heard somebody say that they were entirely clueless as a council member. And I think that should definitely be addressed to make certain that no council member is clueless in regards to issues that they are required to vote on. So, if there was not communications made to these council members, there certainly should be communication made to them to make certain that we don't hear that term no more, because I don't think that makes the public comfortable to hear that, a council member to say that they're clueless, or just not even the word clueless, but I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to vote on it anyway. That's not good. So, but from my perspective, I'm good with where we're at now. I'm good with the advertisement that was put forth. And so I'm good to go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Clanton. District 2.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, in reference to the comments that were being made, it just seems like the people that were responding did not have any clue or any idea that we were talking about something different today. I think they were thinking along the same line as we did on the last meeting that we had scheduled. So it is very and vitally important that we get that information out in a timely manner, and to ensure that the people get that. That's been our concern from the beginning. So it just seems like they were not really familiar with what's going on today. So I just think we just continually need to get that information out on all forms of communication to ensure that the constituents are aware of it, and that also the council people, as Councilman Clanton was saying, that we are aware of what's going on in reference to us being able to vote in an intelligent and in a timely manner concerning the concerns that we have for these issues for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council 3.
So this may be, I don't know if this is for the attorneys or somebody on staff, but I wanted to understand a little bit more about the parks millage in general. Well, let me just ask the question, and maybe somebody can determine who's the best one to answer it. So the county, because we have the IGA in place, the county most certainly for 2020 will not levy the Parks and Recs millage. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Okay. And if we do not levy a millage at all for Parks and Recs, that means the Parks and Recs millage disappears altogether.
Correct. At this time, that's based off of my discussions with DeKalb County. They're not imposing one. So if the city didn't impose one, then yes, there would be no millage for it.
Okay. So we heard, I don't know, 1 or 2 comments about just, the public comment saying, encouraging us not to levy any millage right now. But because we have already taken over Parks and Recs and we've put the IGA in place, that would almost leave us at a place where if we did not levy it this time, and let's say, next year the economy gets back perfect and everybody's happy and things are flowing the way they were, at that point you go from 0 to something, which most certainly would no longer be this concept we have right now of a transfer, even though technically it's an increase because it's 0 to something. Even 0 to 1 is an increase, but in functionality, we're talking about it in the sense of a transfer because it's the same millage we were paying over here. We're just moving it over here. But if we were to levy nothing this time, and then we came back again, like I said, next year, and the economy is great, and we go, okay, now people are in a better place. Residents are feeling good. Now let's try to pull in a Parks and Recs. Now we're talking about a true increase from the 0 that we adopted this year, the 0 the county, and the county didn't levy anything. Now we go to a true increase from 0 to whatever number we determine, but that is definitely no longer an increase. I mean, no longer a transfer, because the county is not levying anything in our absence of levying something.
Yeah.
Did I paint that picture correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so we definitely need to, maybe not right now, obviously, but just kind of have a conversation about the idea of that, you know, if we didn't levy anything and we kept using the general fund to run the Parks and Recs program, and we did not carry over a millage at all, kind of what does that scenario look like? So that way, when we have, you know, maybe another work session or another public hearing, we have a robust discussion, residents can understand the difference in the two scenarios. You know, what does it look like if we try to keep doing it out of the general fund? What does it look like if we don't have enough in the general fund and then next year we have to levy a tax? Is that's going to be an increase? I think providing some understanding of what the two different scenarios look like will kind of give residents and probably even the council some more understanding of really what we're choosing to do this year, because what we choose this year will most certainly affect next year, right? Whether we levy it now or we say no and we levy it later. I mean, everything we do at this go around has a huge impact on what happens next year. And then we definitely need to have a discussion about why we're no longer doing public works. I mean, you have had a discussion with me, Danielle, but I think it's advantageous for us to have an open discussion with everyone about why we're no longer looking at public works. And so we've heard council members mention that, you know, that has not been something discussed with them. So we most certainly need to help the public understand why we're just moving to Parks and Recs and what happened to public works. It doesn't just fall off the face of the earth. It was obviously a very robust discussion. There are still questions that need to be answered. There's still an IGA that's kind of sitting out here in limbo. So we still need to have that discussion so we understand why we're doing what we're doing this time versus the last time. That's it for me.
All right. District 4.
Yes, Mr. Joyner, I believe I followed your presentation quite well, with the exception of you mentioned a $500,000 decrease somewhere, and I cannot find that. Did I hear that correctly? There's a decrease somewhere?
Yeah, on the presentation, under the gross revenue line, can you still see the presentation that's on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so if we were just to levy the millage rate of 1.438 against our 1 mil for our entire city, that gross revenue would be $2.4 million. So that's the gross amount. In our charter, we have a 1 mil homestead exemption. And if our residents who are eligible for that homestead exemption, when we apply that, that drops our number, our revenue for the year to $1.86 million. So that's where the difference is.
I understand that, but that was a $500,000 increase. Is it that?
Oh, that was it was an approximation there. It's approximately, you know, little over $500,000 difference.
Oh, okay.
Between 2.4 and the 1.8.
All right, and I'll get a chance to hear it again this evening. So,
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't elaborate there. That was just some quick, just some quick and dirty math there.
Thank you. That's it.
No problem.
All right. District 5.
Thank you. My first question was going to be for further explanation of the homestead piece. So maybe at 6, you just gave as you say, a quick piece, but I'd request that the 6 o'clock have maybe some more in-depth explanation, please, if you will, so that we just don't have those numbers out there and the public doesn't understand. And Councilman Clanton, thank you so much for hearing my word clueless. One thing you know about me is that I am a truth teller, And if I said I was clueless, that's the truth. I was the one who said that, and that's exactly what I meant. I would not have shared or requested for District 5 to send in comments about public works, and we were only going to do Parks and Rec focus. So again, for me, if you will, everybody involved, I don't like to stand before the people if I don't know what I'm talking about. And I just think it's a level of maybe unintentional, but it's a level of disrespect to my constituents if I'm not able to give them correct information because it's not been shared with me. And so I look forward to round 2 at 6 o'clock.
All right. Madam Attorney, you have any comments?
Not at this time, no.
Mr. Joyner?
No, I have a couple of things that I'll prepare for. I did hear from Councilwoman Cobble about the implications of not levying the property tax for 2020 for Parks and Rec. And so we'll try to pull together what those implications would be. And then also, I just heard that we need a full accounting of what the homestead exemption would be from Councilwoman Grimes. So we'll try to have those together for you for this evening.
All right. Thank you, sir. My closing comments are as such. We work with great diligence here at City Hall with our partners, with our city attorneys, the best we can do with regards to getting information out. As I had mentioned earlier, we collectively disagree with the tax commissioner's office of our last public hearings were not, for lack of a better term, valid because of not having a printed version of the actual pieces, which our city attorneys collectively have determined that they disagree with that, and I disagree with it also. So we had to cover it properly and do them over again, and then advertising in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. As far as there's a couple of things I do want to cover that I heard, and from the general public, we do know what we're doing. And if you don't think you know what we're doing, you need to listen closer, because we have the best people on the planet, along with the largest engineering firm in the world with regards to what needs to happen from a public works standpoint and Parks and Rec. That's why we have a partnership. That's why we do very good work with Jacobs and CH2M. I've heard comments with regards to not that we're covering this time, but I want to cover it since you're saying it. We don't want public works. We don't want this. We don't want that. Folks, you can't have it both ways. If we don't take over public works, and we're not doing that this session now, but that'll be coming up, you will continue to experience the same trash, the same non-cut roads, the same ugliness on the highway, because the DeKalb County is not going to fix that for you. We have to fix that. We have to take our money the same way with Parks and Rec and make our place better. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that you don't want us to take it over and then expect it to be better from DeKalb County. They've already shown you, and they continue to show you, what they are going to perform with regards to maintaining and cleaning Stonecrest. That's the same thing with Parks and Rec. And what I mean by that is that it would not be prudent or spending of your tax dollar to not have a transfer millage rate to be able to take over Parks and Recs so that we can pay for it and make it better than what it is. You don't want to not have a millage rate transfer on that. And I say the word transfer because that's exactly what happens. That's actually what's happening here. So the gross revenue for it is 1.438 mills with that, which equals 2.433 $1 million less the homestead exemption with a net of $1.86 million for the exact same tax that you're paying now and lower. So if we don't do that, we'll go into 2020 trying to pay for Parks and Rec out of our general fund. And for those of you that say that we may not know what we're talking about, we know exactly what we're talking about. So from a public hearing standpoint, I just wanted to make sure that you all know from council and from the general public, we are working as hard and as fast as we can. And to council, I'll put this on my shoulders for each of you that didn't quite know that we were going from Public Works and Parks and Rec to just Parks and Rec. That is on me, and I apologize to each one of you all. So now that we know that this is the case, we have 2 more public hearings that we can continue to ask questions along with the general public and get real clarity as to where we're going. Those are our final comments. I move that this public hearing is now closed, and I'll take a second.
Second.
Properly moved in second. District 1.
Aye.
District 2.
Aye.
District 3.
Aye.
4.
Aye.
District 5.
Aye.
Mayor, aye. The public hearing is now closed. Thank you, and we'll see you again at 6 p.m.
Mr. Jonah, if you would make me the host again, I need to stop our live stream. I think you're muted.
I'm trying. Don't
Oh,
go
okay.
anywhere.
Okay,
Uh,
hold on.
oh, here we go.
Okay, sounds good.
Meeting over now.